All right, welcome back. This is the screen that we left off before we transition now. So these are the 7 steps that we're going to cover a video for each one of those steps. So let's move into the identity and purpose. Retirement can lead to a loss of identity, as mentioned earlier. It can cause individuals to question their purpose and their value in society. Remember, purpose stems from identity. Now you're going to find in your workbook, starting roughly around page 19, 18, 19, this information along in the answer book. You're going to have places to fill in some of these questions. So let's start here with the first question. Who are you, or who were you at work? As a parent, at home, as a spouse, a caregiver? So it's really critical to understand what your role has always been. Lots of people, when they get to this stage pre-retirement, are a little nervous or trepidatious about it because, well, their identity is completely wrapped into what their role is in the work. And we want to be able to find out who you are at work. And maybe if that's a passion, you can parlay that into a very productive after work life. Next question. How can you take your skills from your career, the critical elements of your success, make the world better? One little thing at a time, one conversation at a time, one mentor at a time, one piece of information that you share with a loved one at a time. What skills, traits, or behaviors do you want to enhance, develop, and here's a big one, or omit? I kind of went off a little bit in the last video about guilt leveraging our grandchildren. Well, that would be a great thing to omit, a behavior that isn't helpful. All right, let's do another one. What is one thing you can do this month to improve the relationship of or life of a loved one? Perhaps a friend, maybe a neighbor. And this one's kind of fun if you kind of get an idea here. What about a stranger? What about meeting someone in the grocery store or getting your car filled up with gas? Can you just be kind to somebody? Can you be interested in them? Can you show just compassion to one person? That makes a big difference in the world today. Next, what cause or causes do you want to support and be involved with? Maybe now's the time that you've always wanted to do it, but never had the ability, time, resources, whatever it might be. And then this is a real fun one because it really speaks to the fact that we're hardwired to connect and where we're going to find a lot of our intrinsic value. With whom do you want to better connect? Who do you want to get to know? Mentor. With whom do you want to establish a deeper relationship? And so going to your workbook answer sheet, that's where you want to fill in these answers. Now, if there's two of you, you have a workbook, but then also you should have two answer books so you can write separately. Make it about you. Make it about who you are, what you're trying to accomplish. Then there's an exercise, and I call this a DWOP, or a date with a purpose. The exercise is straightforward. So how well do you know your spouse, your best friend, or your loved ones? It's kind of like a speed dating experience, except it's not, because you're just going to have a little conversation, and it's on page 20 in your workbook. And there's a number of questions there that are asked that would be kind of fun to test each other. So one party could ask the other one, and they could give the answer to verify if it's correct. And then they switch it. So if you're not looking at your workbook right now, there are questions such as, name my best friend or friends in elementary school. Name my best friend or friends in high school, at college, at work. In other words, how well do you know that aspect? What was my first real job out of university or high school? What was it like? Did I enjoy it? Did I not enjoy it? Who did I work for? What was I paid? Who was my boss? What was the good? What was the bad? And then another one would be, what was my most unique job? These are fun conversations. This is how you start developing those connections moving forward. So they're simply the ability to have those conversations. And I'm giving you just resources that perhaps they'll help you. It would be just a good start to find out. And then lastly, this is a more of an introspection one. What would it look like to feel understood by your loved one and to understand them as well? And that becomes what you're working for. What would it be like if the person that you spent the most time with in retirement truly understood you and loved you for who you are? And you, in turn, could reciprocate. You could truly understand them. And that's called empathy. Empathy is the capacity to articulate the thoughts and feelings of another person from their perspective without personal bias. In other words, empathy is, I'm sorry, I feel the same way. That's what I felt like, or I know what you're going through. That has nothing to do with empathy. That's relating. It's a communication blind spot. Empathy is truly to know what they're going through. All right, this is identity and purpose. In the next video, after you've filled out your workbook there, we're going to go into social integration. Take care.